Hello and welcome to episode number 708, which is also episode 147. I am on vacation this week, so I have taken an episode out of the vault, so to speak. This episode originally aired on June 26, 2015, so almost 11 years ago. Doctors Lois and Joanna Gregson are sociologists, and they did a multi-year study on the community of romance authors, and I have never stopped thinking about their study. In this conversation, we talk about the context of how they study romance writers, what they learned about romance as a community, especially about gender dynamics, and the conclusions that they have drawn in their own work. I will have links to their research, although I can only get to abstracts. I'll have more about that in the outro. And I will have links to all of the books that we discuss in the show notes for this episode, which is at smartbitchestrashybooks.com/podcast under episode 708. I have a compliment this week to Sue. Sue, there are roughly 5,000 identified comets in outer space, though the total number is likely in the billions. You, however, are the perfect namesake for at least 9 comets because, like a comet, you are on fire, you light up the sky, you move quickly, and you are a once-in-a-lifetime kind of person. If you would like a compliment of your very own or you would like to support the show, please visit patreon.com/smartbitches. Our Patreon community is the reason that there are no dynamic ads before or after new episodes. If you are curious about subscriber benefits, there is a collection at Patreon of our bonus content. And we also have a wonderful Discord community that would be delighted to welcome you aboard. As I said, have a look, patreon.com/smartbitches. And if Patreon support isn't in the cards, may I humbly ask you to leave a review for the show wherever you listen. It really does make a massive, massive difference. I have included the entire episode, including my original intro and the music. This episode will likely not be available on YouTube because YouTube will flag it for that music, even though I have the permission of the artists and I have the permission of the producer, Sassy Outwater. YouTube does not accept that argument, even though I have permission. It is not the permission that they want. So they will probably not put this on my channel, which, oh well, I knew that when I started pulling episodes out of the vault. I will have information in episode 147 in the first outro about who this is and where you can find them. Are you ready to go back in time a little bit? Let's do this. On with my conversation with Doctors Lois and Joanna Gregson. Hello and welcome to episode number 147 of the DBSA podcast. I'm Sarah Wendell from Smart Bitches Trashy Books, and with me today is Lois and Joanna Gregson, who are professors of sociology. We are going to talk about their continued study of the romance community from a sociological perspective. We talk about the sneers and leers that romance writers and readers are subjected to, and the gender dynamics of the romance community, plus book recommendations, because that's how we roll here. You'll also hear Jen's cat purring at the end, which is my favorite part. This podcast is brought to you by Intermix, publisher of Z.A. Maxfield's My Cowboy Promises, the sizzling hot new cowboy romance. It's on sale now wherever ebooks are sold. The music that you're listening to is provided by Sassy Outwater. I will have information at the end of the podcast as to who this is. And now, without any further delay, on with the podcast. So if you would please introduce yourselves and tell the lovely people who are listening who you are and what you do.
It just occurred to me that you're recording this. And so now I'm like all tongue-tied.
Don't worry, I edit a lot.
All right, good. So I'm Lois, and I'm a professor of sociology at Western Washington University in Bellingham, Washington. And I'm Joanna Gregson, and I'm a professor of sociology at Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, Washington.
So you hang out on the West Coast and you study sociology.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
What's sociology?
Sociology is the study of groups. We're one of the many social sciences, and the particular piece of social science that we call our own is the part that looks at how individuals are affected by society and how society affects individuals.
So you guys look at how people behave when they're around other people.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And what are the influences on that behavior?
Interesting.
Yes. And the influences we're interested in are the ones that are outside of people's heads. So not like your relationship with your mother or, the way your brain is hardwired, but more the structures that operate on us on a societal level.
And so gender plays a huge role in that, and gender expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is there going to be like a whole new sociology, like a buffet of PhD papers about Caitlyn Jenner?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And the media reaction to transgender individuals in major mainstream media publications? I'm just guessing.
So I'm teaching Sociology 101 right now this summer. And already yesterday, I got my first undergraduate paper submission on this topic yesterday. So it's been, 2 days?
Wow.
It took 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Sociology just had a shout out in some article I was reading. So there's a sociologist named Kristen Schlitt, I think is her name.
Mhm.
And she studied transgender people. She found all this kind of interesting stuff, and they talked about it in this article I just linked the other day, but I can send it to you.
Please do.
It's super interesting. And one of the things that she discovered is that female to male transgender folks were like, hey, everybody listens to what I say now at work. Hey, everybody takes me seriously. I say the same things I did before, and nobody calls me an aggressive bitch. So that has opened up a lot just recently.
Yes, how you are received based on the gender that you present is fascinating to me.
Exactly.
So you studied romance novelists. And did you study the writers specifically, or were you looking at the genre as a community?
We started looking specifically at the writers. When we started this project in 2009, it was about the writers.
Right.
But that's because we didn't know anything else, right? We knew that we weren't interested in the books as text because that's not what we do in sociology, or our kind of sociology doesn't do that.
But our books are people.
Books are people.
Our books are people. You don't understand. We have relationships. I'm just kidding.
That's not the kind of people that we are interested in studying as much. So our interest was in the authors originally, and it wasn't until we joined the community that we realized the community is more than just writers. It's also fans, it's reviewers, it's publishers, it's editors, it's publicists. It's huge, and it's all interconnected.
And it's changing rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
So you started this project, you said in 2009?
I think so.
10.
Oh, so it's been 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
Really not very much has changed in the romance genre in 5 years at all.
Oh, nothing.
Like nothing.
Small impact. No difference.
Yeah, that's all vanity presses. Don't you know that? People who self-publish are just egomaniacal, sad people who suck. You didn't know that?
That is the term, though. When we started this research, that's what a sea change we've seen is when we started, they were called vanity presses.
Yep.
So it's been fascinating that we got in right as this change happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Print on demand used to be the devil, and now it's an economic savior.
Yeah.
Amazing. So one of the things that I know about your research that I find really fascinating is that you have studied communities of a single gender for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And there are some things that happen when women are in the company of a bunch of other women. And there are things that happen when men are in the company of a bunch of other men exclusively. So what are some of those things that you noticed in the romance community?
You always talk well about this, so you start.
Okay.
Talk about this a lot. Early on, we were struck by this gender dynamic that you talked about because our previous exposure to an occupational group was sociologists, which is mixed gender. It's, I don't know the gender dynamics. You could Google that, I'm sure. The gender composition of professional sociologists, but there's a lot of men. So it's totally, totally different for us to enter this community and see like, oh my gosh, it's women everywhere. So we were struck by that, just the composition.
There's like 3 dudes.
Yeah. Yeah, we know who they are.
Yeah.
We could name them. So we were struck by that, and we were struck by the way that played out in many ways, including, I think the first thing was like dress. So we joke about how our professor clothes, our clogs, and the other standard issue professor clothes just don't cut it.
No, RWA shoe game is high level competition.
Yes.
Exactly.
And even like, I can't even think of the word because I don't do it normally. Having a nail file to file your nails, to shape them instead of just like toenail clipping them.
Are you talking about manicures?
Manicures. That's the word. You're like, oh, it's my rough claws. but it's so much not a part of my everyday experience that it struck me like this is a community of manicures.
Yeah.
I don't even know the word.
Mani-pedis.
Yes, mani-pedis.
I know that from reading contemporary romance.
Yes. Well, I will tell you, before RWA and before RT, I have a calendar reminder that when I put RT on my calendar, 1 week prior, I set a reminder to go off to schedule a mani-pedi. Like it's an automatic 2-step.
Yeah, exactly. I have to get my hair cut. I have to like restock all my makeup.
Eyebrow waxing. Got to mow your eyebrows. If you're me. I mean, if you're me, you have to mow your eyebrows.
And go buy our like more feminine looking clothing, but also more professional clothing. Because in academia, it's kind of slobby. It can be.
Can be.
Not always.
You've already got the PhD. It's time for elastic waist pants, damn it.
Exactly. Well, with tenure, I just started wearing jeans every day.
Woohoo! So in the romance community of women, we are all, I think you used the term when we last spoke, you called it, is it hyper feminized?
Yes. This is the other part Jen wants me to talk about, I think. Yeah. So there's sociological literature that suggests when you have a single sex group, the characteristics of that group tend to magnify. So the example I always give is like a men's prison, really masculine.
Yep.
A women's sorority, hyper feminine.
I went to a women's college in the South. My experience matches that experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is just, another case study of something that people have found in other settings, whether they're occupational settings or institutions, that you bring one sex together and the characteristics that are associated with that sex tend to be more pronounced. So we see that, like we said, we see that in dress, but we also see it in like the interactional dynamics. So the way women interact with each other is different.
How is it different?
Well, in the romance community, one of the things we saw that everybody talks about, when you go to RWA or RT, is you can sit down with a stranger and start a conversation, and people call you over to their lunch table. Sit here. It's very welcoming, very inclusive. We've also seen it in terms of optimism and encouragement. So the keynote addresses, the point of a keynote is to be inspiring, but the keynote addresses are always like, you can do it. And actually we were interested in, is that just, a function of the keynote address? Is it a function of publishing? Is it, being in the creative industries and having such a long shot to get published or to be successful? Or is it part of the femininity? So we started talking to people who have been to Thriller Fest and other things like that. And one romance author that goes back and forth between Thriller Fest and RWA told us when men get up there to do a workshop or give keynotes at Thriller Fest, it's, here are all the things I did right, hence the reason I'm so famous, right? Whereas the romance authors, in her view, have this way of being vulnerable. Here are the mistakes I made. Please learn from my mistakes. I'm here to share with you. You can do it too. And it was funny because when we went to RT, there was a thriller writer who got an award, a woman, and she got up there and her sort of speech was way less encouraging than we had expected.
Really?
So, yeah, that was a few years ago, but it was interesting, and she said something about it being a competitive industry and she wasn't going to share her secrets or something like that. And we were like, what? That doesn't happen at RWA. It's sit down, honey. Let's have, a glass of wine and I'm going to tell you about my entire career and all of the things that you should be doing differently. And this is what I've learned. And so that kind of support, I don't know. We don't really have grounds to compare it, and make those claims. We just, that it's more or less than what men would do, but it sure is consistent with what women do.
It's a consistent pattern. Is that in the sociological view, is that because women are instructed and inculcated to be supportive and nurturing, or are we supportive and nurturing towards one another intrinsically? Is there literature that looks at one versus the other? You guys are smiling at each other like, yes, and you can have a PhD if you write it all down.
So there may be literature that looks at intrinsic stuff, but we don't go there in sociology. We view the part that is a result of what we call socialization. So I think you use inculcate. We look at it as something that's taught. It's taught implicitly and explicitly through being members of society, through the explicit lessons we get about what it means to be a lady. and through the implicit lessons we get from the, role modeling and the exposure to the media and just all the interactions we have on a daily basis that reinforce what it means to act according to our gender.
Nice.
And, I don't think any reasonable sociologists say biology has no effect.
Right.
But it's just not our, our
the
wheelhouse.
only thing.
And so when you go across culture or you look across time, you see like huge variation in gender presentation or understanding of gender. And so we know that environment does have an effect. And that's the part we look at.
So now that you've done your study and you've collected a lot of data, because I know I met with you a couple times while you were collecting data and you were like, I need another memory card for my recorder. These 6 are full. This one is full too. So you've collected all your data. Now you're writing things. Is that right? Is that the next step?
We're writing things.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we
You're
are.
writing words down in various orders. So
in fact, last year we didn't go to RWA because we were writing, and it was a really good thing that we didn't go to RWA because we got a lot of writing done, and it was sad. We're going this year, so
yay!
And just to illuminate what it means when we write, it's kind of two things. It's analyzing data and writing it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we lump it all into the category of writing, but it means, combing through all our interview transcriptions and our field notes, looking for themes, which we're doing now, and then pulling relevant quotes or excerpts out into an organizational framework, and then checking to see if these themes exist in the literature that's already out there from social science, and then putting that all together in some kind of synthesized argument.
And going back and forth between like, here's these, sort of this tentative pattern I see. Can I make finer distinctions here? Can I throw this out? Can I filter this? Can I go back to the data, add more stuff? It's very interactive that way.
So basically what you're doing is looking through all of the things that you've learned. And it's not like numbers, it's all words.
Right.
And you're looking for patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the things the patterns will tell you? Is it we're all bonkers?
Yes, that's our conclusion.
Okay. Because I just wanted to make sure.
Well, as sociologists and as gender people, we're interested in sort of the gender stuff. We're interested in for instance, one of the things we're working on now is this that we've always just laughed at how common this story is. The way people tell their stories of how they became a writer, because that's been part of all of our interviews. How'd you become a writer? Or if you go to any writer's webpage, that's the story. You click on bio or about so-and-so, and then they give the story of how they came to write stories, which is always interesting. And so many people, talk about the story they wrote in second grade that they still have to prove that they were meant to be a writer. I think that's a really interesting narrative. I was born with a book in my hand. I'm a 4th generation storyteller, these kinds of things. And so when something pops up like that again and again, and we're interested in like identity issues as sociologists. And so we have to say, like, how do people come to think of themselves as writers, and what are the different narrative paths that they use to get there? That kind of stuff. So once it starts cropping up again and again, we just go, well, that's interesting. Let's look more at that. So
another example would be the 87 examples we have of somebody telling an author, when are you going to write a real book? So we call that a pattern.
Yeah, I would call that a highway.
Yeah.
Or how do you do your research? You write romance, huh? How do you do your research? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That kind of stuff. We've talked to one writer who said, oh, I don't get that. And we were like, awesome. Do you write romance?
I just don't tell anyone I write romance. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have a paper that's going to be published really soon. Can you talk about it? Are you allowed to talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have the title as Sneers and Leers, Romance Writers and Gendered Sexual Stigma. There's really nothing to say there. That's sort of like, vanilla, air, plain yogurt. Like there's nothing at all that's meaty about that title. Please tell me all the things right now.
All of the things.
You could just read it. It's fine. It's the internet.
Once upon a time. So that's an example of how, like, we comb through the data. We were interested in the sexual stigma of romance. We were interested in the stigma of romance. And then that we had to narrow that down because we had so many examples. And so we just said, let's just look at the sexual stigma as one source of the stigma. And then as we started to look at it, and authors sort of telling their stories of what people say to them, how the stigma impacts their lives, those kinds of things. We saw that. And then one writer said, well, you get that sneer or you get that leer or something like that. You get that leer or you get stuffy people who say, I don't read that kind of stuff. And then we had another writer say, oh, it's in the bookstore buying BDSM books because I had to do some research because I was going to write some erotic romance for the first time. And I encountered this snooty bookseller. And then the guy behind her in line was like, waggling his eyebrows and, giving sexually suggestive looks. And so we said, oh, that's two interesting sort of reactions to the sexual stigma. So we called it sneers and leers because lots of people said, oh, people sneer. And that's sort of this disapproval, derogatory, oh, you write sex, you must be a dirty girl, that kind of thing. Or the leering is sort of the sexually suggestive, hey, dirty girl.
Yeah.
Like it's this mock approval, which is also not always, but many writers said in many interactions, they felt sort of this implicit derision with respect to that. And it's not just always like a sexual proposition, but sometimes it's, the question, how do you do your research? We've had people say that to us, like I was at a 4th of July party last year and someone said, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a sociologist. Oh, what do you study? So we got into this conversation about the romance writer research. And the first thing this woman said to me is, so what does your research show? Are romance novel writers more adventurous in the bedroom than the rest of us? That was air quotes, the rest of us. And I was, like, yes, that's what my research shows. That's what we're studying.
You're having bad sex. That's what I learned. You're bad at sex is actually exactly what I learned. They all said so. Mm-hmm. All of them said you are bad at sex. Do you want to see the research?
So, that's just so the paper deals with those two kind of reactions and then how romance writers have to respond to that.
And how they choose to. And that's another part of the paper is as sort of the different paths that people can do. And maybe we've talked to you about this before, that kind of boils down to, we talk about personalizing it or professionalizing it, mm-hmm. that you can take on the sexual identity and play up that part of, mm-hmm. of your writer identity, mm-hmm. or you can professionalize it and talk about sex as an emotional stepping stone in a story. And, it's part of telling a good story.
Right. Mm-hmm. I've told you the Judith McNaught story, right?
Tell us again.
Okay. So Judith McNaught is one of the more impressive names of historical romance. Uh-huh. She's what I call the holy romance trinity of J. There's Jude Devereux, Judith McNaught, and Julie Garwood. And their historicals are the ones that I absolutely refuse to part with. And I wrote this whole article about them. But Judith McNaught is also someone who, for the majority of her career, has taken no crap about the fact that her books are sexual and that people are going to make fun of them. She pressed for less like evocative, bosomy covers. She wanted flowers or a nosegay or something less suggestive on the cover of the books, because to put all of that sexuality on the front sort of said, well, that's all there is inside. Mm-hmm. So she went on a television show or a radio program, I don't remember which it was, and as usual, the host read aloud a sex scene from her book, and then, like, completely out of context, just started reading the sex scene and then dismissed it as trash. And she came prepared and read Song of Solomon from the Bible, rewritten into third person, and read it out loud. And when he dismissed it as trash, she said, well, that's the Bible. So, ha ha. Nice. And I was like, you're my hero. I love this story so much.
Oh, that's a great story.
That is. You have not told us that.
Oh, I'm pleased to give you that data.
I was doing a presentation on this Sneers and Leers paper recently, mm-hmm. and there is a story that CBS This Morning posted online a couple years ago about an erotic romance author. I can't remember her name right now, but she lives in West Texas, and
it was on the CBS Sunday Morning Show, mm-hmm. and then they reposted online.
Right, yeah, right.
Was it the Barbie dolls?
Yeah,
yes, Desiree Holt.
Yes. And what's the reporter, Bill somebody?
Somebody, yeah, I don't remember.
Anyway, he's like this old guy or whatever, but he set up the whole segment where he sits on the porch and he says, read me a passage, an erotic passage from your book. And then the camera on him, he's making all these faces, like these shocked faces, and then he's fanning himself, but it's all in this mocking tone.
Yes.
And so I had to teach myself how to make a GIF of his reactions, and I put him into my PowerPoint presentation because it was like so telling. She starts reading this erotic romance, and he's making all these faces. And anyway,
so you had all of the sneers and leers in one convenient GIF package.
exactly.
That's excellent.
I wanted to like put up there her with the Barbie dolls or all that, but I couldn't do it all.
Yeah, GIFs get big and they get kind of unwieldy.
It was my first GIF.
Yay! So when you go to RWA this year, you're going to be presenting, right?
Yes.
So you're presenting your paper?
No. We're in a panel of other recipients of the RWA academic grant. So I can't remember. Maybe there's 5.
There's about 5 or 6.
5 or 6. And we're the only team. So just one of us will be speaking to represent. But it's kind of like a retrospective of the academic grant.
And what it does.
What it does and where that research money goes. What we found, how it contributes to our understanding of the romance genre.
And it's interesting because people come from, different disciplines and they have, different foci. It's going to be interesting.
Cool. So are you still working in the romance world, or are you going to move on to some other community with your research?
Oh, we're doing never. We're never moving on. No. We made this pledge to each other.
You're like, no, we're never leaving. We're here. We found our people. No, we're never going anywhere. No.
There's so much. I mean, really, it's because we like it so much. But we're going to justify it academically because there is so much to do still. There is no other sociology on this topic. And every time we start writing one paper, we realize there are like 7 papers in it. So, for example, the sexual stigma paper that Jen talked about, that was originally going to be a paper called The Stigma of Romance or something. And that is now like 5 different papers, or at least 3. It would be 5 if I had my way. It would be a whole book if I had my way.
Okay, so the other day, Joanna said to me, I was talking to her about the paper that I'm working on. She's working on one primarily. I'm working on another one. And she said, so I think maybe we have 2 books here. And I was like, oh my God, no, let's just get one done.
You guys are like the sociology version of those families that have like 9 eligible brothers and every brother gets a story. Like you guys are your own sequel bait.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Sequel bait. Yep. I'm going to use that next time Jen gives me a hard time when I say that for the second book.
Yeah, sequel bait. So are you writing a book?
We are writing a book.
Yay! Is it a romance?
Oh,
it's our love affair with the romance genre.
That'll do. So you're with me. You're over with me on the nonfiction about romance shelf.
Exactly.
It's not a crowded shelf. Bring as much as you want.
Yeah.
I'll set up a bar. You just bring whatever you need. There's not a lot of us on that shelf.
We have dabbled in the actual writing of romance, which I think we've told you before.
Yes.
Because it's kind of part of our methodology is learning by doing.
Yes, it's science.
It's science.
Yeah.
But we're terrible at it. So
also science. We are scientifically incapable of writing romance, but it gives us an appreciation for how hard it is.
It does.
Yes. That's my favorite thing when someone tries and they go, oh my God, it's really hard. And I'm like, can I just record people saying that? Because I still see so many people say, oh, it's easy. Anyone can do that on a weekend.
Exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
Which is another pattern. How often people hear that?
Yep. Anything that is said over and over and over and over. And I'm assuming you also collected data on the stigma that is attached to reading romance as well.
Like we haven't done that as much. Only that area has been studied a little bit. Readers and the kinds of reactions they get. It's actually been more about, to be honest, more of the literature on readers has looked at whether they have realistic or unrealistic expectations.
I keep seeing those papers and my blood pressure goes up.
Yes. Because the assumptions of the people posing those questions are just really problematic. Really problematic.
One of the things that I really dislike, the pattern that I have seen most recently, is the position, much like the person on CBS Sunday Morning, the position of the journalist when they are tasked with writing about romance. Sometimes you get a person who likes the genre or is curious about it and comes at it with sort of an honest enthusiasm. And then you have people who are like, oh my God, I can't believe I was assigned to this. This is so embarrassing. I can't wait to get back to the economy and really important things like food. And I'll just phone, this is so ridiculous. I can't believe I have to be here. And then implicit in that attitude comes this almost insecure desire for reassurance on the part of whoever's reading their article. Like, well, you and I know that this is ridiculous, but this is my job. So I have to report on this. But you and I both know that this is just terrible. So here's my word count, moving on.
Right.
There's
right.
that sort of distancing and then elevation and disdain. Because you can't write about it if you don't like it without explaining how distasteful it is.
Right.
And that is so much of the journalism about romance.
And writers, as you know, are really wary of that, inviting journalists into their writers only spaces because they've been burned so many times.
Oh, yes.
And I think we've talked to you about this before and we've chatted about this, but we have seen this. We've seen this over and over again in our data, but we've also experienced it in what we call the contagion of stigma, because the reaction we get when people find out we're studying this is the
why?
Disdain.
Why would you look at that? That's dumb.
We're like, we're social scientists. And for us to get that response gives us a little insight, a little inkling into what it must be like to be the people who actually produce this work.
Welcome. It's fun.
Yeah.
But this is why there's a bar. Really, this is why we have a lot of bars. I still get that. I've been running the blog 10 years and this has been my job for 5 years. And I still get people who are like, wait, I don't understand. That's what you do as your job professionally? Not like, hey, it's really awesome that you don't have to put on shoes if you don't want to. More like, why would anyone want to do that? Like, why?
Right.
Like, do you, okay, sorry, it's awesome. Haha.
And the assumption is that nobody has anything interesting or important to say about romance.
Nope.
How could you make an entire career on people commenting on the romance genre? And your community on Smart Bitches and, the romance reading community in general is so smart and insightful and hilarious. And, there's so much to say.
It is. And it's also interesting because I know of some men who read my site and a few of them comment regularly, but I hear from them privately, like, I'm never sure if I should comment because I'm a dude. And I'm like, wait, you're a dude who's considering before giving your opinion? Are you ill? Are you okay?
And thank you for doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Being here.
I'm always like, wow, are you single? Because I know women who would really like someone like you. You're a really good guy. Don't move. We're just going to get a little stun gun and a tag. Just don't move. We're going to tag you for research. Just stay right there.
That's another book. Yeah.
Tagging the good men for research.
Yeah.
So when you are working on looking at all of your data, is there particular pieces of data, and I don't know how much of this you can share, but are there particular things that you really like revisiting or things that you've done in the course of developing all of this patterned data that you've really enjoyed exploring?
I think we might both have our pet favorites because they align with the things that we're interested as sociologists that are recurring themes in our careers. So like stigma is my thing. I love it. It's my favorite thing. And every time I get to teach stigma in class, I always say, this is my favorite thing. And students are like, you told us that last week. I'm like, no, but this one really is. It really is my favorite.
And stigma is when someone is doing something that other people reject them for.
Yes. Yep. It's, other people look down on them. They devalue, they disparage. Exactly. So I see stigma everywhere. And it's sort of like the lenses we wear when we look at the same thing. So we've got this pile of data, and what lenses are we using when we look at it? So I see stigma everywhere. Jen sees emotions more than I do. Maybe in real life too.
I doubt that.
So she sees emotions. So, like Jen is more interested in how authors deal with rejection. And those inspirational speeches. What are the words people use to tell their inspirational narratives? So I think in terms of our having like favorite things, they might differ based on the things that get us both excited and have been getting us excited in other projects we've also done. But I think we might both, we haven't actually talked about this. This is a good time to talk about it. I think we might both be interested in the feminine subculture part.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That part is really exciting to think about.
All that gender stuff.
Yeah.
So the way in which at conferences like RWA and to a lesser extent RT, the women dress up for one another, basically. It's like plumage in a single gender community because there's no dudes there. It's not like we're trying to pick up a dude.
Right.
And the other stuff that is not at conferences, but the behind the scenes, the encouraging email threads and the support, the optimism, the looking out for each other, the lack of hierarchy. all those things.
Be nice. The be nice culture that you talk about in your book.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like my least favorite thing, but those are my lenses.
Well, it's got a downside.
Yes, it does have a downside. One of the things I think I told you about was that at RT this year, I noticed, and now of course that I've seen it, I notice it everywhere, more and more women who are, I'm presuming, have mostly gone gray, are dying. Hey, Kitty, there's a pet on the podcast. Who's that?
Oh, he's so excited. Let's show.
Hi, Kitty. There's no video component, but that is a large orange cat.
It's a great big orange kitty.
Hey, bud, do you have anything to say about gender? No.
Not so much. No.
Who's this gendered person sitting next to my mom?
That's what he's wondering. What's Jen doing here on the couch? This is our space.
Get off my couch. I had an elderly cat who we had to put to sleep a couple of months ago, but every time I started recording, she would hear my voice and come in and start meowing. And ever since she died, every podcast has had a pet guest. Usually the person I'm interviewing. Sometimes it's one of my pets. But I'm down to 2 dogs and 1 cat, which is a normal number of pets and is very strange for me. Either way, a pet in the podcast. I'm so excited.
This is 13-year-old Daniel, and this is his media debut.
Hey, dude. Nice to meet you. You're destined to a long life because all of my cats are and were old. Both of mine died at 17 plus, and then the one I have around here somewhere, he's 15.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so you have many years ahead. Yay! So I noticed among all of these women at RT, especially at the book signing, that presuming that they had gone mostly gray, they chose the most amazing hair colors, blue and green and pink and purple. Like it was like the antithesis of fading into the background as an older person.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm going to shock you with my blue hair.
Mm-hmm.
Did they do it together at RT or did they come that way?
No, they rolled in that way.
Huh.
And there were so many different women when I was sitting at the book signing, because I'm at the end of the row because my last name begins with W. So I get this year the checkout line. So people who were approaching the checkout line would walk by me, and I was like blue, green, purple, yellow. Yellow's cool. Blue, red, pink. It was really cool.
That is cool.
And I wasn't sure and I'm still not sure if that's a romance reader thing or if that's just a thing that has been happening that I'm not aware of because I haven't gone gray and reached that point of dyeing my hair something other than gray.
Huh. I don't know. I'll have to keep that in mind though as an option.
Pretty cool, right? Because it's all the more plumage. Because we do break out the plumage. Like that's one of the things where I am like you, a very practical, clogs and elastic waist pants kind of person. And so RT and RWA is an exercise in, okay, these things go together and those shoes go with that. Okay. And I actually, for the sake of packing light and also my own sanity, I will schedule my wardrobe so I know what I'm wearing on what days and what pieces I bring.
Uh-huh.
I know for a fact that not a single person in the world remembers what I wore at any of these conferences. But yet, I think I can't wear the same dress twice. Even though I know there's no way anyone else remembers what I wore, unless it was particularly bizarre or egregious or like I had a wardrobe malfunction.
You have a picture.
Or it had a picture.
3 years in a row at the Rita, we had the same dresses on.
But I did my hair different each time.
Oh, good.
Ponytail, up or down?
Yeah, exactly. Up, down, ponytail. I don't know what my third hairdo is.
You don't have a third hairdo.
Maybe I alternated.
She only has 2.
I do. Ponytail and down.
But you can always move your part. If you move your part to the other side, that'll give you a big 50s sort of poof thing because your hair's not used to it.
Yes. I've already been worrying about that for this year, although I don't think we're going to the Ritas. I don't think I'm staying that long. Like, oh my gosh, I only have the one dress for 3 times.
You can do it. I do and alternate. I have 2 and I switch them off.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And I saved my packing spreadsheet so I know which one I wore last year. And one of them is from H&M and it was like $10.
Oh,
Nice.
And then I'm in line with all of these women who are wearing like actual $1,000 gowns. And I'm like, oh, I did this wrong.
I understand that feeling.
Yep. That's like a whole other thing. The subset of women who are not good at fashion, who are just faking it well enough to pass.
Yes.
Like, okay, I've passed without notice. Moving on.
The other thing, when you said you schedule your outfits per day, we have to do that because we end up with the same clothes all the time. And so I'll say, what day are you wearing your coral sweater? Because I'll wear my orange/coral sweater on a different day.
Together. And we know Jen and Joe, like nobody can remember which one of us is which.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you don't want to make it even harder by wearing the exact same outfit.
Yeah.
Have you answered to each other's names at this point?
No, but I occasionally, what did we have? Oh, we checked into a hotel or something and they gave me a piece of paper and my name was Jennifer Gregson. But I rid of the two of us. So that just felt perfect. Yeah.
So in Washington State, are you guys like common law married?
I don't think we've cohabited long enough for that.
You know what we should do, though? We should take Joe Gregson and Jen Lois, and we should call ourselves Jolo.
Oh, you totally, this isn't a thing that you do?
Yeah.
You should do this immediately.
I already go by J-Lo to my classes.
Of course.
Which they think is funny, but it's not going to work forever.
No, it's not.
Jolo.
Jolo.
It's like a version of YOLO. YOLO, Jolo.
Jolo.
So
really missed the boat not publishing under that name.
We did.
There's still time. You can get a little icon made and then trademark it.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's a good idea.
Little Twitter head, little avatar. So when you entered the romance community, you didn't know that much about romance. And then you had to start reading it and then writing it.
Mm-hmm.
What are there authors that you recommend most, or are there authors that you think, okay, this is awesome. If someone asks me, I'm going to spread the word about this book. Do you have favorites, or have you not read enough to declare your favorites?
Oh yeah,
we
totally
have favorites.
Yay! What are your favorites? Can you say so? Are you allowed to?
Oh, sure.
Because that's not going to mess up your data, is it?
No, because we're not studying the text at all, and we don't identify authors by name in our write-ups. It's the conventions of the discipline is that we blur the identities of the people we write about. So nobody will know if we just read these because they're the books we wanted to read, or if we've ever even met these people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Kristen Higgins is a favorite for both of us.
For both of us.
We love her.
Mm-hmm.
How come?
It's just funny.
Yes.
I think that appeals to both of us.
Mm-hmm. And her characters they seem realistic and
believable.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite book that you both like, or do you each like different ones?
My favorite in all of her books is, I think it's called My One and Only, and it's about Harper and Nick. I might be making up those names, but I think they used to be married and then they're not, and then they go on a road trip. I really like that one. And I like Parker and James, and I forget the name of the book, and they work on a cabin together. And they've known she's from a different book.
Oh, yeah.
She's from a different book, and and then she got her own book, which Kristen Higgins didn't always used to do until she started her series. But when she was writing in first person, each book was a standalone. Somebody to Love, maybe?
Yes, it is Somebody to Love. I just looked it up.
Yeah, I really like those. I mean, I love them all, but those are my
I love them all.
favorites.
Of her. I think we both like Jenny Cruzy in that similar vein of contemporary with some humor in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love Suzanne Brockman.
So do I.
So I know you don't read a lot of romantic suspense, but
I do not.
Love her.
Another romantic suspense author we both like is Kate Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Her first book was One Scream Away.
That sounds right.
I think that's it. It was great. That's the one I recommend to a lot of people who are new to romance but say they like mystery and thriller. It's that one. It's really good.
That was a good one. What else do we read? I'm now reading Julianne Walker. She's a new discovery for me. And because I bought that anthology that Suzanne Brockman was in just a couple weeks ago that came out. And I think the whole project was Julianne Walker's pet project, I think. And she's the first story in that. I really like that story. So I started with her backlist.
Whenever I post her books that are on sale, I always get a response from her fans. They're like, oh my God, that book is so good. Every book that's on sale. Oh my God, that book is so good. So she definitely has a sort of addictive writing.
You know who's addictive? Kristen Ashley.
Yep, pretty much.
My gosh, total crack.
Yep.
And I think I heard about her on one of the podcasts, and one of your reviewers thinks she's crack. Maybe it's Elise.
Elise thinks she's crack. Jane has called her crack. Angie James has called her crack. I think Katie D, who also reviews for Dear Author, I think she calls them like Pringles. You can't just stop with one. You have to keep going.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. We interviewed her and I was like, what is the crack? Do you know what the crack is in your writing? What is it? And she said, Kristen Ashley said she thinks it's that she is writing down emotion and she's doing it in such an immediate way that people connect with it. And I think she's got a point, especially because a lot of her books are told from first person or a very, very close third person, but she's writing down emotions as much as possible. And that people get really hooked on that. I don't know if that's the reason, but you are not alone.
And it's weird because sometimes I read that and I'm like, I should not be liking this character. This character is a complete asshole.
Yes.
But I'm like, but I love him / hate him.
Yep.
Why am I still reading?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's creepy. But in a fictional environment, it's okay. In real life, I'd be like, oh no.
Exactly.
That's always my I want to answer to people who talk about how romance gives people unrealistic expectations and that we can't tell the difference between reality and fiction. I think most readers would look at a character like that and be like, in fiction, it's great because I have already agreed that this is the hero and the heroine and I know more about this than they do. But in real life, I recognize this is not a good dude.
Yeah.
I think most people are able to recognize almost immediately this is fiction and this is not, and those are not the same thing.
I agree.
But then I tend to have a lot of faith in people.
Another author that I just read, and I know Jenna's read her too and likes her, is Farah Rashan.
Oh, yes.
I think we both just read her Rita-nominated book, whose title is escaping me. But it's about an academic, a professor.
Forever something. Forever Yours, maybe?
Maybe. I'm terrible at remembering titles. But it's got the professor angle, which we can identify with, and just the charming hero, and
that would be Yours Forever.
Yours Forever.
Oh, darn it, so close.
Yeah,
I've got Google, so and you liked it because it was an academic.
I don't generally enjoy category as much because I like longer stories that I can really get immersed in for a long time. But this one caught my attention because the protagonist is a professor. So I totally get it. And she does a great job of making it believable, the storyline of this professor who has this project she's working on and this department she's beholden to and all that. So
and it's small town, which we like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we do everything the same.
Yes. Because you're actually the same person.
Yeah.
You've just temporarily morphed into two for the purposes of this interview.
Jolo.
Town. When you start giving cover quotes, I better see it's Jolo. So, have you guys read Julie James?
Yes.
You would like her.
I read her.
You have. Oh, the royal we has
Jen
not.
has.
Jen has.
Jolo has not. Yes, because I was listening. I get a lot of my recommendations from your website. And you were talking about that FBI U.S. Attorney series.
Yep.
And so I read the first one and I really liked that a lot because it was a witness protection story, which I love.
Yep.
And then I started reading the second one and it wasn't as suspenseful to me. And so I'm still in the middle of that.
You can skip that one and move on to the next one if you want to.
Okay.
So better and better and better and better and better.
Okay. Is it all in the same series?
They're all in the same series. You'll see characters recurring, but you can read them as a standalone. The only thing that might get spoiled is that you'll see a couple that in a previous book will have gotten together. And there are somewhere a few attorneys that I know have been like, yeah, no, that could not happen. And that person keep her job. Like, no, there's no way. But the fact that the characters, particularly the heroines, are so consistently competent and they like their jobs and they're not. There's a sort of a theme, a repeating theme, I think, in small town contemporary where someone is starting over, their life has ended in some way, and it's usually the heroine and she wants to take a break at this town and then go back to where she was. With the James books, all of the women have jobs that they like. They like their jobs. They're busy, but they enjoy what they do and they are competent and confident in what they do. And I happen to love them for that. Because there's only so many times you can read somebody starting their life over, you know?
Exactly.
Like, exactly. I get it. No.
Oh, I just thought of another one I just read recently that I got from your podcast. It's an epistolary, Letters from Skye.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah, when you talked about it, I think you hadn't read it yet, but had heard about it from several people. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved It actually brought a tear to my eye, which Jen can attest. Never happens to me.
Never happens.
When I read it, I'm not moved.
It happens to me all the time.
It happens to her all the time. But never to me, except Letters from Sky did it to me. I really like that book.
I love epistolary books. I wish there were more epistolary romances.
Yeah, me too.
I wish there were more because it's like eavesdropping on somebody's email,
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I loved that. Yay. I'm so glad you liked it. That's just the best feeling. Yay.
We both just read an epistolary that's not a romance, but it's very funny. Did you read Dear Committee Members? You did, right?
No.
Oh, Dear Committee Members. It's an academic. It's hilarious. And so it's this like disgruntled professor who just the whole story is his letters. It's hilarious. Very Where'd You Go, Bernadette type.
Insidery, heavily detailed, hilarious.
Would people like it if they weren't in academia?
I think people would like it if they weren't in academia. If people are in academia in any way, they would think it's hilarious.
Awesome. Cool. Mm-hmm. Any other recommendations you have? Feel free to recommend sociology textbooks that you've really enjoyed.
Crickets. No.
No, I don't have any of those.
There's some good sociology out there right now. Like if you're interested in like women and sexuality and that kind of thing, a really good book is by Amy Wilkins. Wilkins? Yeah. Christians, Goths, and Wannabes? It's called?
I think so.
So she's another field researcher, ethnographer like we are. And she sort of compared these young adolescent girls, I think, across the Goth subculture, young Christian women. The part we focused on, the reason it's in my head is because we use a little bit of that in our sexual shaming paper. And the interesting thing that relates to our work is that the Christian women she interviewed tried to sort of recreate sort of moral selves by, if they weren't virgins anymore, by sort of like recreating that in their heads,
What's that Hamilton one called?
Paying for the Party. That's really hot right now, actually, in sociology. I think it's called Paying for the Party. And these two sociologists lived in a dorm with a bunch of freshmen and like followed them for 4 years or something like that. And they talk a lot about campus life for young people and young women in particular. One of their findings is that like when fraternities are involved, and other sociology shows this as well, when fraternities are on a campus, they tend to control the social life, which disadvantages women. And so fraternities can have parties in their fraternities, where sororities are usually banned from having parties and alcohol and that kind of thing. And so the women are forced to go to the male turf. Their, drinking and partying is controlled by the men in the house. The transportation is controlled because they have to get to the house because the dorms don't, permit alcohol. And so just there's all this sort of gender stuff going on that really leads to a lot of exploitation of women on college campuses. That's one of their findings. They focus a lot on social class as well, and how there's different tracks in college, depending on where you come from, from a socioeconomic perspective. So it just came out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm trying to figure out if I am hearing your cat purring or if I'm hearing my dog snoring. I'm hearing some purring here. The cat looks so indignant, like, fine.
It sounds like kind of like a pigeon cooing.
Yeah. Yep, yes. I totally hear it. That's totally the cat, because my dog is here, but he's not asleep. He's just looking at me like, what's that noise? I love it. Pets on the podcast. And that is all for this week's podcast. I want to thank Jen and Joanna for taking time to talk to me about all of their research. I hope you thought that was as interesting as I did. They will be presenting at RWA, and I will have a link to the agenda where their panel is featured if you want to learn more about it or about the academic grants available through Romance Writers of America. This podcast is brought to you by Intermix, publisher of Z.A. Maxfield's My Cowboy Promises, the sizzling hot new cowboy romance on sale wherever digital ebooks are sold. The song that you are listening to is Pete Bog Fairies from their new album Black House, which I like a lot. It was produced by Sassy Outwater, who you can find on Twitter at Sassy Outwater. This song is called The Dragon's Apprentice. A, because it's awesome, and B, because I really like dragons. And I have a piece of information for you, should you be curious about Book Riot Live. If you use discount code TRASHYBOOks, you can get $20 off full registration for a new attendee for the Book Riot Live conference. It's a reader convention featuring book lovers, a bunch of authors, and the Book Riot team for a celebration of books and the reading life. They have speakers including Sarah McLean and Beverly Jenkins, It'll be held November 7th and 8th at the Metropolitan West in New York City. It is limited to attendees 18 and up, but if you want to register, go to bookriotlive.com and use Trashy Books, all one word, Trashy Books, to get $20 off a full registration. Jane and I are currently working on a lot of interviews, so future podcasts will include me and Jane and other people, also my dog. What do you think? Yeah? Yes, romance novels. Yes? Any other recommendations? No? Okay. My dog would recommend that the people who are repairing the fence leave immediately because he's tired of them. Anyway, as I was saying, if you have suggestions or ideas, or you have a request, or you want us to help you find a book, or you have an idea for a podcast, please email us at sbjpodcast@gmail.com. I love your email. It's awesome, and I love that you send it, so thank you. And for now, that is all for this week's episode. On behalf of Jen and Joanna and Jane and myself, my name does not begin with a J. I feel left out. We wish you the very best of reading. Have a great weekend.
And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. I will have links to the books that we talk about. And as I mentioned in the intro, the first intro, there are 2 articles that came out of their research that I've been able to find, but I can only access the abstract because I don't have a subscription to any kind of academic database. If you do and you know of a method for sharing information from an academic database with larger numbers of people, please let me know. I don't want to break any rules or cause them to be in any trouble by sharing their work, but it's awesome. The 2 articles that I have found are Sneers and Leers, Romance Writers and Gendered Sexual Stigma, and Aspirational Emotion Work, Calling Emotional Capital and Becoming a quote-unquote real writer. Like I said, I have not stopped thinking about this since I first learned about it. I end each episode with a terrible joke, and this week you're getting two terrible jokes. One is your garden variety grown-worthy, dear God, Sarah, that's terrible dad joke. And the second one is a bit more off color. Maybe you don't want to put that in the family group chat with your grandma. Maybe your grandma would think it was funny. Joke number 1. Did you know that the guy who invented the Ferris wheel never met the guy who invented the merry-go-round? Yeah. They traveled in different circles. I love the part where I can just hear you go, oh, Sarah. That joke is from Joe's Dad 65. Thank you, Joe's Dad. The second one, as I mentioned, is a little bit more off color. If you want to skip ahead, you want to jump ahead 30 seconds right about now. What's another way to describe anal bleaching? Give up? What's another way to describe anal bleaching? Changing your ringtone. I ran that by Amanda and she was like, you should tell it. So, if you hated that, you can blame Amanda, but also blame me because I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. That's just terrible. That joke is from Ed Winches. Thank you, Ed. On behalf of everyone here, we wish you the very best of reading. Have a wonderful weekend and we'll see you back here next week with a brand spanky new episode. Until then, I leave you with the words of my favorite retired podcast, Friendshipping. Thank you for listening. You're welcome for talking.